Good morning. It's time for Community Matters on Y101. Today's show is brought to you by these great sponsors: Omaha EMC in Lyons, Appling Healthcare in Vidalia and Baxley, Vidalia Federal Savings in Lyons and Vidalia, and by Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde. Now let's talk about what's happening in our community with your host, Tony Doc Orlaw.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's another Wednesday morning here at Y101 WLYU. Thank you for traveling with us and being with us this morning on this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, Tony Wardlaw, the Doc. Good morning. As I come before you this morning, I am sad in heart. I thank God for our community, but this morning our heart bleeds for those who are in the Uvalde, Texas community and what happened there in elementary school, Robb Elementary. Our prayers go out to them on this morning. I know we often say that this can't happen in our community. I saw a documentary or an interview where someone there in that community had said the same thing. And so we are not exempt, and we just thank God that He has protected us from that here in this community. It ought to have all of us really focus on what matters most and come together to exact the changes that we need as far as our gun laws and our gun rules so that we can protect our families. So I hope and pray that, as these senseless deaths continue to happen, that we all will be galvanized to action. And so again, I just want us to take a moment to reflect on that, and I would hope and pray that we all would just come together and pray. As you can tell, for one time during the show, since I've been doing it, I'm somewhat speechless as I think about this senselessness. Now, as we move forward and we have taken that moment of silence, it is with pleasure and godly divine, I see it, that we would have a legend who has covered a lot of different topics in his lifespan, a legend in and of himself. And I'm happy, I'm excited to have the one and the only, an entertainer, a television host, a radio personality, one of our strong community leaders, and a social justice advocate, none other than the man himself, the legend, Mr. Wilson Johnson. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing fine, Tony, and thank you very much. I want to say that I'm thankful and honored that you would have me on to share the microphone with you. So whatever you want to ask me, you can go on and ask me.
Well, I'm humbled by those kind words. I over the years have been listening to you and watching you, and as a community leader here in our community, you have made quite the name for yourself, and not only here, throughout the state and our nation. And so what I'm excited about is that you're from this community. Yeah. Born and raised in and around this community.
Yes. Thank you very much. And Vidalia is where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And it has a world commodity, the Vidalia onion product.
Okay.
And the one thing that used to get me disturbed when I was in Miami, I would see people on the corner with Spanish onions with a Vidalia onion bag on it. and I grew up, with the Vidalia onion, you could bite into it and it wouldn't burn your eyes.
Look at that.
And that's how you know that it was grown in Vidalia, in the city of, in Toombs County, somewhere around Vidalia.
That's right.
But, those onions down there, you bite into it, you're going to start burning, and your eyes are going to start running water and all that stuff.
Right. And so you being from this community, you've, as you just stated, you born in Mount Vernon, right? Grew up in and around Toombs County, Vidalia.
Yeah.
You left, went to Miami.
Yes.
And you came back here. And during that time, since what, 1986, you've been a strong community leader here.
Yes, yes.
One of the things that I'm familiar that you've done and started, and actually where I first met you when I came back after going to college, was you founded the Concerned Citizen Coalition of Vidalia.
Yes, yes. Well, when I came back, there were so many things that were going on and that I really didn't understand. And I felt that we had an organization. If it had to do with racial, they would call that organization. But what I felt is that, we have people right here in our community who can do some things without any racial overtones.
Okay.
And that's why, I founded the Concerned Citizen Coalition. And if, we would discuss it, if there was something that we were disappointed in, we would get the people together and we would discuss it and figure out the right way to go about it without all of the other stuff, So, and I'm thankful that organization has been around, is still around. Just the COVID time has stopped the meetings, but they are still together.
Okay.
And they're doing scholarships. As a matter of fact, I was at the high school last week, and they asked me to present a scholarship to one of the young people, and we did that.
Good, good. Now, the Concerned Citizens Coalition, its mission was, what was the mission of the?
Bringing people together, discussing issues. And the thing of it is, if that was a problem that we had, we would discuss it with the leaders of the community.
Okay.
We wouldn't get in the streets and march and throw rocks and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that's the best way to go. We have
getting
to get
everybody around the table and discussing it and coming up with a common.
Exactly. We have to begin to understand other people, how they feel, and we can get around the table and discuss an issue and come to a common ground and agree to disagree if that's the case.
Okay. All right. And so from there, that kind of, I guess, moved you into the realm of being a voice in the community.
Yes.
You started your own television show?
Yes. Well, I thought about that, and the first show that I was on was in Claxton, I believe it was, and they had a television show down there. And somebody asked me if I would come and start doing a show down there, which I did.
Okay.
And I was honored that someone in Vidalia said, why he's going all the way down to Claxton to do the show when we have a television show right here and around Toombs County. And that's when I started the show out here on, I think it was WPHJ or something like that.
Right. I remember being a guest on your show one time when my brothers and I were just starting out in our music endeavor, our gospel singing music, and the word was, if you want to be somebody, you've got to go to Wilson Johnson's show and let him showcase you.
That was a blessing, and I was honored to hear something like that.
Yeah. So, how many years did you do your television show?
Oh, I can't even remember how long it was, but it was quite a few years. But it got to when I started getting more active in my church. I started writing articles in the local paper, in the Vidalia Advance.
Okay.
Because I could write that, and then I can go and do what I needed to do in my church at different levels.
It was called the Johnson Report.
Yes. Well, I'm trying to remember what the show was called then. I mean, that was, well, I know one show that I did was the Johnson Report. But we had a radio show that I think that's when I first started.
Okay.
And I didn't want to have it in just my name only because a lot of people didn't know. So our city councilman, John Raymond Turner,
that's right,
more people knew his name, so I named the show the Turner Johnson Community Roundtable Discussion.
Wow.
And that's how that got started. And then we went from one thing to another because I saw the need in different areas. And I was just trying to fulfill the purpose of the needs that we had here in Toombs County.
Let me ask you, Mr. Johnson, how effective was your platform as you look back over it, and you think about the progresses that have been made in our community, how effective do you think your platforms were in helping to promote that?
I think it was very effective, but I don't take no credit for it. I'm a religious person, and I feel that God is the one who led me to do the things that I did, and everything that I do is church is spiritual related, and sometimes people will come to me with some things that I don't feel comfortable about. I don't think that way. I won't get involved in it. But my position is to bring people together and discuss issues and agree to disagree and move from there. And that's just the way I've always felt.
Well, I ask you that because we are in some very tense community times. These times are it is very tense. I mean, we saw the elections on yesterday and how, how much tension and the vitriol around our political systems. But you have been successful in having a political show for years. And I just want to, for our listeners, for you to give us some insight on how and what would you recommend that we do as we move forward in our political climate.
Well, the thing of it is, I don't get into political favoritism and all that stuff. But one thing I will say to all people, when a young man, a young lady is 18 years old and they're qualified to register to vote, go vote. Get your name on the list so that you will have a voice. And you can't wait until something happened and you don't agree with who was elected and then you want to complain. But I think the parents need to encourage their children when they get to be 18 years old, encourage them to go get their name on the list and register to vote so that they will have a voice.
Right, and go through the proper processes in order to do it correctly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Mr. Johnson, there's so much that you've done in your history here in this community. In particular, as we talked about your television show and all of your various forums. You are an icon in this community, and you're soon to be a whole write-up on you will be done, and we'll be able to read all about your history.
Yes. I think sometime in the latter part of June or the beginning of July, the Toombs County Magazine has chosen me to be a part of that program, and they will have things that I had even forgotten about in it. And as I read the information, I had forgotten about some of the stuff that they have on me. But I'm honored to have done that. And I think, like I say, I don't take no credit for anything that I have done. I just go where God lead me to do. And I think that if more people begin to do that, they will be great leaders. But you got to put God first, and everything else will fall in place.
Well said. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Mr. Johnson, I want to talk to you about another project that you're doing in our court systems, and I want you to kind of explain to us how it is tied into the work that you do within your church as well. And so I just want people to hear from a legend himself, one who has been in this community for years and given so much to it, none other than Mr. Wilson Johnson. After these messages, we'll be right back to hear more from him.
Would you like to improve your energy? How about getting better sleep? It can start with a simple test. Find out how you can start feeling better with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Schedule an appointment with Matt Hodges, family nurse practitioner, Applin Healthcare certified BioT provider. The BioT method of platelet therapy can improve your energy, sleep, weight, and libido. Call 912-367-4122 and start feeling better today.
Spring has sprung in South Georgia. This is Anthony J. with Todd Paget Housing Center, and we're inviting you to come visit our spring selections. While all the other dealerships are bare like trees in winter, we've got a variety of homes blossoming in our Super Sale Center. We've got a bouquet of single and double wides of all square foot sizes. So don't let your dream of home ownership harden. Come pick out your new home today and plant it on your special piece of garden. We're right off of Highway 280 in Claxton. Todd Paget Housing Center, packing the homes deep so you can have your own place to sleep.
At Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde, we're here to serve our community by providing all your transport needs. We offer non-emergent, non-medical transport by stretchers, wheelchairs, and ambulatory vehicles. We can transport to medical offices, dental facilities, vision, pharmacies, family events, and now we can transport your pets to the vet. We offer private pay, so for a ride above the rest, call Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde at 912-594-1812.
Are you tired of your home loan being sold at countless times to another bank in the secondary market? Here at Vidalia Federal, we are your local bank that holds your mortgage for the entire life of the loan. No more letters in the mail saying your mortgage has been sold. And did you hear? We just dropped our interest rates. This is Julia McKenzie with Vidalia Federal Savings Bank. Call me at 912-537-8805 or come see me at our Vidalia branch and let me help you with your next purchase or refinance. It would be my pleasure to serve you. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, The Doc, and we are happy to be here this morning with none other than a man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Wilson Johnson. Mr. Johnson, you have been an entertainer, a television host, a radio host, a community leader. But in the middle of all of that, you are also a social justice advocate, and you are the founder in 2010 and CEO of Community Project Hope. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you know, a lot of young people, men and women, boys and girls, make errors in their life, and they go to court. And the courts have to do what they are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know, and if there's no one who can stand up with them and say that I'm going to help this person get on the right track, then the court system have to do what we hired them to do. Okay. And I have been in court. I learned this from when I was living in Miami. Mm-hmm. A lady by the name of Miss Georgia Jones Ayers, she had a program like this, and I used to be a part of her program, and I'd see her, and as a matter of fact, it was so effective, the sheriff's department gave her an office in their apartment, in their office, mm-hmm. so that if there was a young person who had some issues, you know, and she felt that it was time for that they would be willing to get their lives in order, mm-hmm. she would get involved in it, and that's why when I learned that. And I used to go to Toombs County, and I see young guys, 17, 18 years old, for minor stuff going to jail because nobody tried to straighten them out. Mm-hmm. And I had an article on Georgia Jones Ayers, and the first thing I did, I went to Judge Kathy Palmer, and I showed her this article. And I think I did the same thing with Judge Barbara Reeves. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you want to know a little more about Wilson Johnson, call this lady. Because most of the people down there knew me and knew of my work. As a matter of fact, I knew Governor Bob Graham. Okay. I knew State's Attorney Janet Reno. Okay. And I think she was the U.S. Attorney under one of our presidents, mm-hmm. you know. And when you get to know some of the responsibilities of these people, it makes you feel sad that they don't have anyone to support them. Wow. And people think that they're just doing it to get paid, and that's not the case. Mm-hmm. You know, when I go to court and sometimes I see the judges have to make some decisions. Tough decisions. And I empathize with them, mm-hmm. but they have to do what we hired them to do. Mm-hmm. And so what I felt is that I would start a program that will help these young people get back on the right track. It would be church-related. Mm-hmm. If they made an error in life, and I would interview them, and I felt that they were willing to make a genuine life change. Okay. Find a church to go to. They don't have to come to my church, but find a church to go to and be on the pastoral authority. And if they were willing to do that, and then we would work with the probation department, to help them pay that probation. And as a matter of fact, I have one guy who hadn't even graduated from high school.
Okay.
His name was Robert Marquis Jinks. He came from Savannah to Toombs County. He was selling drugs and all of this stuff.
Wow.
And how I met him, one day the men were singing, the Sons of Allen. We were singing, and when someone walked into the church and we hadn't seen him, one of the guys in the choir would point to me and get my attention and point. I would ease out of the choir stand and go and find out who they were. And I went to him, and I introduced myself. His name. I said, "What's your name?" He said, "My name is Robert Jinks."
Okay.
I said, "What bring you to St. Paul?" He said, "Well, I heard about the Sons of Allen, the men ministry, bringing men to Christ, and I've been looking for you all, I said, "Do you have a church yourself?" He said, "No, sir." I said, "Well, do you want to be a part of this church?" He said, "Yes, sir." So I told him, I said, "I'll tell you what you do. When the preacher finished preaching, and he come down out of the pulpit and extend his hands and open the church up for membership, you get up, walk up and give him your hand, but give God your heart, and then we'll take it from there." And I left. I didn't know the guy was living on the other side of 280. And one Sunday he was there, and I went and talked to him. And I said, "Where do you live?" And he told me. I said, "How do you get from over there here?" He said, "I walked."
Wow.
And so
Was this one of the guys that was in your program?
yes, he was one of the first. And what happened when church was over, I asked him, I said, "You got a ride home?" He said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, how are you going to get back?" He said, "I'm going to walk." I said, "Would you like for me to give you a ride?" He said, "Sure." I gave him a ride, and his godmother was in the yard when I got there. And she told me, she said, "Well, he want to go to college."
Wow.
I said, "He want to go to college?" I said, "You want to go to college?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Did you graduate from high school?" He said, "No, sir, but I got my GED."
Okay.
I said, "Well, I'll tell you, what are you going to be doing Tuesday?" He said, he work at Chicken of the Sea or something. I said, "I can get off."
Excellent.
I said, "Well, you meet me here at 2 o'clock, and I'll pick you up and take you down to Southeastern Tech, where the pond is, and we'll see about that," which I did. When we get there, because I knew one of the ladies down there, I said, "Do you know this guy?" She said, "No, I don't think so," because he had shaved and
So
cut his hair.
you got him cleaned up.
Exactly.
He's making a change in his
And
life.
she said, "I don't think." He said, "Wait a minute." He went in the back and got a picture of him off the computer. And when he brought it back and showed it, she said, "Oh, now I remember him." And because he looked nothing now that he looked before. So I called Southeastern Tech. Well, he got a copy of his GED. I called Southeastern Technical College, and because I knew one of the people out there too, and I told them what I was planning on doing, bringing this young man and enrolling him. How much would it be? And at the time, the community was supporting Project Hope, so we did have a few dollars. I took him out to Southeastern Tech and paid his entry fee. And then he got a job. We got him a job at Savannah Luggage. And I had to go and pick him up from college. He was going to work. I think he worked on the night shift. I had to pick him up from home, and take him to Southeastern Tech. I said, "This is not going to work." I said, what I did, I bought him a bicycle. and I wanted to know whether he was very serious about this.
Right.
And where he lived was about 1.5 miles from Southeastern Tech.
Not that far.
He rode the bicycle to Southeastern Tech. And he had to ride the bicycle from Southeastern Tech to Savannah Luggage because Alan Rice gave him a job out there.
That's good.
And that was, but this young man went to Southeastern Tech for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then God had worked through me to help Morris Brown get the Hope Scholarship reinstated because I worked with Senator Tommy Williams at the time and Governor Sonny Perdue.
Right.
And Dr. Stanley Pritchard, who was the president, gave him a scholarship because of that.
Okay.
And we transferred him to Morris Brown, where he graduated.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the many success stories that you've had
Yes.
down through the years.
Yes.
And that is through the Community Project Hope.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what counties do you serve?
Well, I used to travel all over.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do, Emmanuel County, and Sandersville up in that area.
Right.
I've been to Macon, and you know what I would do, because I dressed a certain way. I had a green blazer with a patch on it that said Community Project Hope. But what I would do, the court system down here would work with me, and if we chose a person to try to help, I would talk to some of the district attorneys and let them know where I was going, and they would introduce me to that system where I was going, so they knew me already.
Wow.
And I didn't have to get up and walk around and act like I was a big shot. I don't play that, you know. But I would go in, I would sit in the front. The judge would see me when I was sitting there, and they knew enough about me to know that I didn't compromise my integrity.
Right.
I didn't tolerate playing games and all that stuff. And while I'm talking about that, there was one young man who went to Southeastern. What's the college up in Statesboro?
In Statesboro is East Georgia College.
East Georgia College.
And Georgia Southern.
Well, it was Georgia Southern. He had gotten in trouble, and we went to his support. And I was so honored. About maybe a year ago, he bought a big house, and I have to talk to my wife where it is, but he invited us, and I was so proud of him. He was married, got a child. I mean, and just to think that if God had not stepped in to help this brother get on the right track, where would he be today?
Well, you have been successful in helping a lot of young men across our community to do just what you've just said. You just turned 80 years old in February, and you had a great event where you had your family come in and honor you. How much longer are you planning to do this?
Well, in the end of June or July, I'm going to retire from Community Project Hope.
Okay.
We got a great board of directors.
All right.
We got some other people who are prepared to step into my position and keep this program going.
Excellent.
And I'm just praying that God continues to put his arms around that program so we can continue to do it.
It sounds like a great diversion program. Certainly, we've been appreciative to have it here in our community. You've been working with our Superior Court judges and our court system, and we've heard nothing but good things from it. And so we, again, Mr. Johnson, we thank you for your service to the community, and we wish you well, and congratulations on your upcoming retirement.
I want to thank you for inviting me on your show. And I pray that someone out there is listening and want to take a step to do the right thing, help get other young people on the right track so that we can continue to grow, instead of sending them to prison so that the taxpayers will have to take care of them.
Right.
You know, we got a great judicial system, and they're there to help. But if nobody can step with them to help, it'll be detrimental.
Thank you very much. We thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your service, and we thank you for being with us on this morning. Everyone who is listening, please let us roll up our sleeves to do our part throughout. One of the things that stuck out when you were talking, Mr. Johnson, was it takes work, and it takes all of us to put in work to get things done. So, again, thank you for traveling with us on this morning. This has been another edition of Community Matters. As always, we thank our producer, Mr. Dave Allen, the one and the only. Also, we thank Ms. Dorothy Davis for making sure that it is out on our website. Please visit our website, tcbbroadcasting.com. Go in and look at our archives and all of the other things that are happening in our community. You can find them there. I'm your host, The Doc. This has been Community Matters. Come back again on next week. Same place, same time. Good day.
You've been listening to Community Matters, a service of Y101. Today's show was brought to you by these great sponsors: Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde, Vidalia Federal Savings in Lyons and Vidalia, Appling Healthcare in Vidalia and Baxley, and by Omaha EMC in Lyons. Tune in next week at 8:15 during Y101's live morning show for another special guest. We'll talk about what's happening right here in our hometown on Community Matters, a service of Y101.